Before watching this video, you need to fill in the preliminary assignment that will give you insight into your natural leadership style. You will find the link in your workbook. Leadership is different from management. Management is making sure that people know where they stand, that they have all the resources they need to achieve their goals, that processes and procedures run smoothly, and that resources are allocated properly. Leadership is mainly about ensuring that people not only come through difficult situations unscratched, but also that they can continue to get the best out of themselves, that they are motivated, that the cooperation, the collaboration goes well, that people are confident that they can continue, that they can do the job, and that people can develop and grow. Anyone who has received leadership training before is bound to know the situational leadership model by Paul Hersey and Ken Blanchard. The idea behind this proven, effective model, if you adjust your leadership style per situation to what employees need, they perform better and they feel more appreciated. This not only increases results, but also motivation. Because employees experience that the leadership style is attentive to their needs, people also feel safe enough to dare make mistakes. Important conditions for personal development and innovation. According to Hersey and Blanchard, leaders show two types of behavior: the steer and the support behavior, also called task-oriented and relationship-oriented behavior. The extent to which they do that determines their leadership style. Hershey and Blanchard distinguish 4 styles which we encounter under different names. So let's first walk through the model, and then we're going to see how to apply it remotely, which is of course the focus of this learning journey. Style number 1, instructing. There is much direction and little support. The leader decides, he gives clear instructions, controls and makes adjustments. He says what should happen, by when, with whom, how, where and why. He also follows up briefly, giving feedback so that he can make adjustments where necessary. Style number 2, convince. Lots of direction and lots of support. The manager decides, but he involves the employee in his decision making. He stimulates with asking questions, listens to what the employee has to say. He encourages and gives compliments so that he can convince the employee of the point. He should especially approach the why question from different angles. Why me? Why now? Why that way? Why by then? Why for the team? Why for the company? Why for the customer? Why for sustainability, customer focus, innovation, agile working? The more angles you include in your arguments, the faster the employee is fully convinced of the usefulness, of the impact, of the added value of his output. Style number 3, the coaching style or consultation style. There is little direction, but there is a lot of support. The manager and the employee determine together how the work is done and look for solutions together. The manager encourages the employee and offers support where necessary. Now, what questions would you ask here in particular? Indeed, a lot of how questions. This way, you involve the employee as much as possible. You get inside their mind, their head, feel what they are thinking, and especially what they are struggling with. And then style number 4, delegate. Little direction, little support. The employee is responsible for the what and the how. The manager creates the conditions under which the employee can do his work optimally. He should especially dare to let go, to trust, to let the employee do it. He provides the means so that the employee can fully succeed in his intention. Now, how do you decide which style to use? What do you think? Which leadership style is most effective depends on the task maturity, also called the development level of the employee. Task maturity is about a person's ability to perform a certain task, his competence, as well as his commitment to the task or willingness to take responsibility for it. In addition, a person's level of development can vary from task to task. So there is not one best way of leadership, not even for one and the same employee. The best leaders are flexible leaders who can style switch at a moment's notice. Now, let me go through 6 situations. Either your employee has little or no knowledge and his willingness is rather neutral. This is the case with starters, for instance. They know little about your company, about your procedures, about your expectations, your values, and they are not yet what I usually call, quote unquote, married to you. So their loyalty is not great. In this situation, you should mainly instruct or apply style number 1. Second situation, we see that in terms of knowledge, there is a gradually increasing growth from no knowledge to a lot of knowledge. In the second situation, the employee already has a little bit more knowledge, but not enough to let go. He still needs to be guided and supported. The development of motivation or readiness is rather a cyclical process. It has ups and downs. An example to illustrate this, suppose you give an employee, let's call him John, the assignment to clean your office. You explain everything to him, you give him the means, so he has all the tools. So John has done this once, he has done this twice, he has done this 3 times, and the 4th time he's a bit thinking like, been there, done that. Huh? He has seen every corner of your office by now, but that doesn't mean he has seen all possible situations. So his motivation is going downhill. And this is a natural progression that you have to anticipate as a manager. So you also need to change your leadership style here. If you continue to instruct, you will demotivate the employee even more. He now needs a boost in terms of motivation. He needs to be convinced. Why me? Why now? Why this way? Why next? Why for the team? Why for the company? Why for the customer? Why for customer orientation? Why for his development? Why for his promotion? Etc., etc., etc. Once your employee has the necessary knowledge or ability, we need to let go and steer less. But we still need to guard his motivation. This is also the style where I can test whether I can trust 100% and whether I can perhaps pass on and delegate a task. I ask many questions in order to involve the employee so that he can give his input, show how good he already is, take responsibility and ownership. I give him some extra input here and there or adjust if necessary. If not, my role as a leader is to compliment and appreciate him. Style number 4. If your employee has a lot of knowledge, sometimes even more than you, and is also super motivated, you should delegate. Delegation means that mistakes can and may be made, that the way in which the result is achieved can be freely determined within an agreed framework. So let go and trust your employee. I sometimes see in leadership coaching that some managers think that they are delegating, but actually they are giving instructions which they expect the employee to carry out slavishly. That is not delegating. Delegating means that the employee is given a certain amount of freedom over how he performs the task. He can work autonomously and make decisions independently. There are 2 possible combinations. An employee who is super demotivated and also a super expert in his field. This can sometimes happen to employees with quite a bit of seniority. Which leadership style would you apply here? Delegate? No, because then you get a demotivated employee and in time you will lose him. Remember, where there is a will, there is a way. So if you can convince him of his impact, contribution, of his usefulness, of making this clear again, then you have him back on board. You can also have a situation where your employee is super motivated, but has little or no knowledge. This is often the case with starters who think, I have a degree and I want to do it, so let me do it on my own. Now, which style would you apply now? If you instruct, you demotivate him. If you delegate, you risk things going wrong. And to lead is to lead employees to success, not to failure. Remember? He doesn't need to be convinced anymore, so you need to coach by asking many questions, such as how would you go about this? How do you start? And afterwards, and what would you do next? You can check where adjustments still need to be made, where you need to fine tune, and the employee feels heard and listened to. So much for situational leadership, but what does this mean now at a distance? If you go through the 4 styles again, which one is perfect for remote management? Delegate, indeed. Which style is really difficult at a distance? Indeed, instructing and convincing. Now, in some cases, for instance, with the COVID situation we have, of course, no choice. And we have to bring new employees on board. Remote consultation or coaching also works. We do need to supplement our suitcase with communication and conversation tools and techniques and skills. And for this, I refer to the following videos on virtual communication so that we connect with our employees and do not think too quickly that we are aligned or assume employees who do not come to tell us anything have nothing to say. I have created a handy tool to help you map out your employees so that you have an overview of your employees and the leadership styles they need in one dashboard. This is handy if you need to have a conversation with one of them tomorrow, so you can immediately see which style you need to use. Note that the style is situationally determined. So in the same meeting, you may have to switch 4 times or even more, depending on the subject. For example, when it comes to drawing up budgets, John is super expert and super motivated. So delegate, you need to use style number 4. But when you talk about filling in his time sheets, he's super demotivated and lacking in knowledge. So there you will need to convince. So be sure to fill in the tool. You find it here in this learning journey. This preparation ensures that you use the right style at times when you are very busy and have less time to prepare. If you use the wrong style, you will meet resistance from your employees and demotivate them, or you will be getting feedback that you are micromanaging them, for instance, where you think you are not a micromanager. You may have recognized that the 2 axes of the situational leadership model, so steering and supporting, also have a link to insights, where we used also axes and where we have an axe task-oriented and relationship-oriented. So let's have a look at situational leadership, but from the perspective of insights, to give you a little bit more deeper insights. Effective leadership does not depend on one's insights color. Each color has qualities that are important for quote-unquote good leaders. It's the combination of qualities that makes the difference. Remember, it's about the tower. However, a person's preferred colors are reflected in their leadership style. Insights distinguish 4 forms of leadership. which are slightly different in a virtual work environment. The best leaders do have a preference for a certain form, but are still able to effectively integrate all four into their personal leadership style. Understanding your own leadership style is an important part of leadership development. The 4 insights colors can help leaders to use the leadership style that suits the employee's needs at that moment. In a virtual work environment, the 4 forms of leadership take on a slightly different meaning. We have result-oriented leadership. The rule is a deal is a deal. If you want to be effective in this type of leadership, you have to go all the way and deliver what you have agreed upon beforehand. As a results-oriented leader, the end goal is what drives you. With every step you take, you measure and monitor your progress and success. Secondly, visionary leadership. In a virtual environment, this requires a shared course and goal. If you want to be effective in this form of leadership, you have to take people with you and give them the feeling that you are on the way to the same destination together. As a visionary leader, you communicate effectively at every level and get everyone on board. You radiate warmth and enthusiasm and are an inspiration to others. Thirdly, relational leadership. In a virtual environment, it's all about appreciation and recognition. If you want to be effective in this form of leadership, you need to feel genuine care for your people, your team, and your stakeholders. As a relational leader, you make people feel appreciated. You stimulate and nurture an atmosphere of togetherness and empowerment. This is how you help people to get the best out of themselves. And fourthly, centered leadership. In a virtual environment, it requires a certain level of headedness. If you want to be effective in this form of leadership, it is important to keep both feet on the ground. As a centered leader, you enjoy being fully in the moment. You are alert to what is happening, both to yourself and to your people. Each leadership style also meets a need at a distance. Results-oriented leadership, well, a deal is a deal. Visionary leadership, you're an inspiration and you need to be a source of inspiration. Relational leadership, care for your people, and centered leadership, be alert. As an extra, you can view the ebook Effective Remote Leadership from Insights Colors. From the insight of situational leadership, you now feel that you need to switch from a management style to a coaching style. You will discover how to do this in the following video. But first, I would like to inspire you with the video of Simon Sinek, Leadership Explained in 5 minutes, and I'm sure it's going to put a smile on your face.